You or someone you love needs help for an addiction. Where do you turn? Foundations Recovery Network offers individualized treatment for the whole person. Our goal goes beyond short-term sobriety. We address substance abuse and co-occurring mental health issues together, providing a firm foundation for long-term recovery. The first step is often the hardest, but we're here with a free assessment, insurance information, and treatment options. Our confidential helpline is available 24/7. So call 877-714-1318 and discover the Foundations Recovery Network difference today.
This is Rich Roll, and you're listening to Sober Guy Radio.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for tuning in today. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in. Thanks to you for supporting the show. Be sure to check us out at thatsoberguy.com for past episodes and resources. Also connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at RealThatSoberGuy on Instagram, at Shane Raymer on Twitter. We have the first Sober Guy live show coming up September 7th in just a couple of weeks. So please check that out. It's at the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma, California, with special guest TJ Woodward. If you're in the Northern California area, if you want to travel out to the California area, we'd love to meet you, love to see you, love to have you be part of the show. You can get tickets at www.thephoenixtheater.com or thatsoberguy.com, and you can click on the live events tab there and get yourself some tickets and come check it out. I don't have very many announcements today. If you need some help, call Foundations Recovery Network. Do I have the number in front of me? Of course I do. 877-714-1318. They got nationwide residential and outpatient facilities. You got any questions? You need some help yourself. You need a family member who might need some help, or you have a family member who might need some help. You can check them out. One more time, let me give you that number. That's 877-714-1318. And as always, thanks to our sponsors, Foundations Recovery Network. Once again, thanks to Humans. And then, we're going to plug Sober Nation tonight, too. Sober Nation, great company out of Florida, homies of the show since really we started. In that first year, I think Tim and I connected. So what's up to those guys? Hope they're doing well. And as a matter of fact, just read a good article. If you guys who follow the show on the regular basis know that we had Dave Buckner on, and Dave had an article written, I believe, by Tori from Sober Nation that they just put out this last week. Really good article about his whole story and a lot of photos of that progression from the early days in Papa Roach all the way up to his life in sobriety now. So definitely a cool one. I think you can check that out at sobernation.com. if you want to look into that. Let's do a couple of iTunes reviews. This first one comes from Seychelle22. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I know that Seychelle actually hit me up on Instagram recently, and I did see that, so I appreciate that. And once again, it's at RealThatSoberGuy if you want to connect on Instagram. And she says, I love this show. It's very easy to listen to and relate with. And I saw a great review about it on the app Sober Grid, which is awesome. We've done a podcast with Chris, I think, from Sober Grid. So what's up to those guys? And she says, so I started listening back in March when I was first starting my sobriety, and I'm really excited for the new shows each week. So much love. Thank you for that review right there. And thank you for the follow on Instagram too. And I hope your sobriety's going well. March, what are we in? March, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Man, so you're rolling up on 6 months here pretty soon. So that's pretty badass. Keep it up and keep doing what you do. Seychelle22, thank you. Appreciate that. And then we have one more here I wanted to read. It's I think it's Christ, CRICE 2448. Another 5-star review here. Says, Shane, I look forward to the show. I can't wait for the podcast to come out. I'm a new listener. I've struggled with drugs, and your show has helped me out a lot, and I will keep listening to you. Everyone needs to hear the show. I have no complaints about anything. Keep up the good work, Shane. Thank you. So once again, much love. Great review there. Always appreciate the reviews, guys and gals. And if you don't know how to leave one, you can look on YouTube. How do I leave a review on iTunes? Otherwise, you go to iTunes and you click on the tab that says leave a review. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a slow-mo mood tonight. I'm definitely chill. I will say that after a busy-ass day. And, man, how many of y'all out there just got some madness going on right now in your schedule where you feel like you're being pulled apart in many different directions between recovery, maybe between work, between family, between issues going on in life. Maybe they're mild issues, just normal shit. Maybe they're real serious ones that you're really having a tough time dealing with. Man, it's real. And we're always trying to juggle, I feel like. Well, I'll speak for myself. I feel like I'm trying to juggle things all the time. And Jess and I were talking on a walk. We took the kids out on a walk last night. Nice night, by the way, out in Vacaville. Good Lord. Some Northern California weather. Got a little bit of that nice, cool NorCal breeze going on as the sun was kind of going down. So you got to love that in August out here. Normally, we're getting into the 100s, and it's just been hot and smoky. I'm sure those of you have heard on the news and whatever that California's on fire, baby. And I ain't talking about a good fire. I'm talking about literally. There's fires everywhere. So make sure y'all say some prayers for us out here. I think everyone's holding on and people are doing good work. But I'm totally off track now. I totally forgot what the fuck I was saying. Dropped an F-bomb. I'm going to follow in Seth's footsteps from last week. I'm going to count. I believe that's 1. We're going to try to limit it to 3 on this episode here. Anyways, I know what I was talking about now. The walk. So we go on a walk and, we start talking about the busyness of life, how fast it's going by, all the things going on. And I'm a firm believer, and I think Jess would say the same thing, especially in the convo that we had. God, your higher power, whatever you believe in, something greater than ourselves that is in control, won't give us stuff that we can't handle. And, maybe for someone going through something that's extremely serious right now, I hope that doesn't sound abrasive or disrespectful or anything like that. It's not how I mean it to be, because I know there's some serious situations that certain people are going through. Definitely not as serious as my stuff going on. But at the same time, it's all about perspective. And how are we able to take those situations that are either mild or extremely severe and put some sort of positive spin on them and figure out how we can turn adversity or whatever it is that we're going through into something positive. That's a choice that we have. That's a choice that I have. It's a choice that you have. And that's something that I continue to work on through working a recovery program. So if you're not in a recovery program, I would absolutely highly recommend to jump into one. Now, I haven't said this in a while, but I probably should. As of yet, I am not a licensed professional. I will be soon. For those of you who have saw some of my posts, I'm actually going to school right now to become a alcohol and drug counselor. So that's one exciting thing that's going on in the life. And it's also another thing on top of the list of stuff that, I'm trying to delegate time and all those things. So I had no intention of talking about any of the shit that I just talked about for the last 5 minutes. Actually had something completely different. But to wrap that up in a somewhat neat bow, I guess we'll call it. God, higher power, something greater than us is in control. We got to go with the flow. We got to be giving it up to him. I have to be giving it up to him on a daily basis. Every day that needs to be the focus. And, I'll share this with you real quick too, and then we'll get into the story today. Is that, my sponsor recommended that I do a gratitude list this week. And, I've been having some stress and different types of things in life. And so he said, man, one of the things we can do is we can take a step back and we can look at how far we've came. And I'm a bit guilty of not doing that often enough because I'm constantly on the vision ahead, trying to be mindful, by the way, and stay in the moment the best I can. But, goals and deadlines for, certain projects and family stuff and all that. My mind it's impossible for me to be in the moment all the time. I got to plan things. There's things that I am mapping out, and I like to play chess in my head. That's what I do. Sometimes it works well and it's a good thing, and sometimes it can be a something that gets me out of being mindful and being in the moment. So I got to try to balance that. But the gratitude list is something that, and I haven't written it out yet, but I am going to do that this week. I just want to share that because if anyone else out there listening, is interested in that, or is thinking, yeah, maybe that is a good idea. Maybe I'll do a gratitude list too. You can do it on anything. Mine's going to start with finances. There's that's always, I think that's always an issue for people in financial situations. And I'm not trying to get into details or whatever my financial situation is, whatever yours is, whatever's going on. I'm just saying in general, because we obviously have bills to pay every month, right? And so certain months, things come up, certain things are busier, times are busier, unexpected things come up, all that stuff. And so sometimes piled on with other crap, that can get stressful. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so I have to take a step back and look at how far we've came, from being evicted at one point and not being able to pay our electricity bill, all the way fast forward, 4.5, almost 5 years now to, buying a house or renting it from the bank, however you choose to look at it. That's kind of how I choose to look at it. But being in a much better position, being able to pay our bills on time, that kind of stuff, like that's the kind of stuff I forget about because I'm looking to the next thing. Well, how can I, arrange it so we're comfortable and we have this going on? And that's one example. So basically, I'm going to make a gratitude list and start it off with finances. What's your gratitude list going to be about? Think about it. What are you struggling with right now a little bit? Is there anything out there that that is bugging you? Maybe it's something that you don't think is really bugging you, and you're kind of saying, I got it. I can kind of deal with it. I tend to do that a lot. And I tend to minimize things. I actually, one of my qualities that I'm really trying to, I almost said character defects, but I hate that word. One of my qualities I'm trying to work on is being, a little more sympathetic and understanding a little bit. And that goes back to, I totally just lost my train of thought right there. Don't you got to just love that, right? Dude, okay, totally off topic here, but I really think I'm losing my mind some days lately with the branches of the tree that are sticking out everywhere that is life right now. Lucy started school today, and I felt like such a piece of shit. I'm like, yeah, great, Lou, 2nd grade. Yeah, this is so awesome. She looked at me and she was like, Dad, I'm going into 3rd grade. I was like, are you kidding me? So number one, I knew she was going into 3rd grade too, by the way, everybody. So I'm not a terrible father. I did know that, but for some reason this morning, my brain was just so scrambled. Like I totally blew it, totally didn't get what was going on. And I think that is a product of just a lot of things going on and trying to work all that stuff out. So, it's all part of the game. It's part of staying dialed in, and it's part of having a sponsor who you can work with. It's part of having a recovery program. And here's the big one. And I've talked about this a couple times on previous podcasts that have recently came out. It's all about grace too. I didn't beat myself up today too bad for a couple of the things that have been going on, even though it's been one of those days. We got to give ourselves grace. Tomorrow is a new day. If we're lucky enough to wake up, I don't mean that in a dark sense, but in other words, how do you see that? What kind of perspective do you put that in? And I'm able to put that in the perspective of gratitude. if I wake up tomorrow. It's not to scare me. It's to say, damn, I want to wake up tomorrow. And I'm super grateful when I get to do that. So let's move on before I just ramble my ass off right now. I mean, that's part of the show, right? We get to babble a little bit. We get to ramble. I always think back to that review that we read a few shows back that that said they ramble a little bit. Well, that's kind of what the show's about. You get to ramble a little bit, and as Jerry Seinfeld said, people just want to hear me talk. They want to hear people talk. It's a terrible impression of him, by the way. But comedians in cars getting coffee. Just watched that the other night, by the way. Miranda Sings was on there. We got to watch it with Lucy. I'd try to do the impression of her, but I'm horrible at it. I'll have to have Lou on here so she can do it. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you again for the reviews. Leave us a review. Let's move on. This is something I want to try that's a little bit different today. Mainly because other than my wife, I get tired of doing the same thing all the time. Okay, so I wrote an article back in 2016 that was published in, I believe it was the winter edition. I want to say volume 18. Yes, 18. And it was in Recovery Magazine. It's called In Recovery Magazine. I believe it's inrecoverymagazine.com. I'm sure you can Google it if you did want to look the article up or whatever. But it was an article a little bit about my story and about the main focus of it was a musician. And this is what they asked me to write about. You're a musician. How did that transition for you when you got sober? And so I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I'd love to write something. And I found this by accident. I was kind of clearing some things out on my desktop. I forgot that I had done this. It got a little bit of exposure in the magazine, of course, but I mean, I haven't looked at it since, 2 years ago. And it's titled A Broken Record. And so I thought, you know what, let's read this story tonight. And I share some stuff about, about my recovery and about past and about present and stuff, but I haven't done anything where I've went into a little bit of depth about some of the stuff that I was going through, back in the day as a teenager, and then that went into my recovery. So I thought it might be cool to share a little bit of it. So it's titled A Broken Record, and it starts like this. Being a musician was a deep passion of mine. I picked up early on the fact that being a rocker pretty much meant you could do or say whatever the hell you wanted. This was quite appealing to me. My rebellious, fuck the world attitude was quite polished at a young age, probably to cover up the many insecurities that were engraved in me from feeling lost as a kid. I also developed a certain coolness and mild-mannered attitude from skating and biking around town, listening to bands like Social Distortion, Dead Kennedys, and Two Live Crew. Add to this that alcohol, drugs, and partying were quite the norm when I was growing up in the 80s. My father certainly had no qualms of keeping this a secret around the Raymer household, and the blueprint for a glass house was built early on with no tools to help it withstand the storm. When I picked up a microphone for the first time and got in front of a few people with the sounds of hardcore punk rock blasting through the speakers behind me, I felt invincible. All of those insecurities and worries went right out the door faster than a convict being released from prison. It was a powerful high, and if you've ever been on stage, whether in front of 5 people or 500, chances are you know what I'm talking about. There was also another high from the alcohol and drugs that were flooding my veins. I jumped around like a madman, wailing arms and thrashing my head every which way, making faces that looked half man and half demon. I took all of the aggression I had felt out on stage, and I got to tell you, it felt exhilarating. The combination of adrenaline and substance made me feel superhuman, like I could do anything, and like I could be the person that I always wanted to be. But there was one problem. I had no idea who the hell I was. Even after one of my idols, Nick Traina, from the East Bay ska punk band Link 80, died of a heroin overdose, I had still concluded that in order to make it in the music business, I would need to drink and do drugs to gain credibility. I also thought it would help me be creative. After all, this is what rock stars did, or so I thought. As I coasted along into my mid-20s, this band thing was not quite working out like I expected. I was in a number of different bands, playing local shows, and sometimes going out of town to play, all while doing drywall, a job that I hated. It was a lot harder than I thought, but I was just trying to pay the bills. I was slowly learning that there was much more to it than just partying and making music. I was under the impression that the magic music fairy was going to come down and sign me to a record deal. This is what I refer to as the dreaming drunk. I was the guy who daydreamed about what his life might be like if this didn't happen to me, or if that didn't happen to me. I also continued to dream that I would one day make it and prove everyone wrong. It was an endless battle of peaks and valleys, self-pity, playing the victim mentality, and a bad attitude with plenty of booze and cigarettes to complement the guitars and all the excuses. By this time, I was on the latter end of my 20s. In 2008, I married the love of my life, Jess, and in 2010, we had our first baby, a beautiful little girl named Lucy. I took a loosely firm stance that I was going to get on with my life and quit the alcohol and drugs for good so I could be a great father to my daughter. This didn't last very long, and I was off again, chasing the bottle and the dream of becoming a rock star not long after she was born. Myself and a close friend put out the album Chemical Diet in 2011, a last-ditched effort at getting a record deal. By the title alone, it's pretty evident what was going on for the sluggish year it took us to record it. There were many drug-induced late nights that turned into early mornings watching the warm California sunrise. All the while, my wife and baby girl were wondering where the hell I was and what the hell I was doing. This lifestyle pattern seemed to be like a broken record. And not long after my 32nd birthday, as if in the blink of an eye, I woke up in a small, musty detox room within the confines of a 30-day rehab. Somehow I had managed to drag my guitar there with me, but the funny thing was, when I got a chance to play it, it just didn't feel the same. Did I need to get high to play? Maybe I needed a drink to loosen up. Shit, maybe I just wasn't that good. Later on, I would figure out that it really wasn't any of these. Instead, I learned that maybe I was not as passionate about music as I once thought. Let me explain. I love music. I love writing. I love to sing. I love strumming an old, dusty acoustic. I'm passionate about music. But my passion became confused with the desire to live in a fantasy world of becoming a rock star and all the fortune and fame that supposedly comes with it. Mix this in with substance abuse, and there's a recipe for a very unsuccessful dream in most cases. I never understood the mental stability and business savviness it takes to succeed in the music business. In fact, I had no clue. I still love to play my guitar and sing some Social D or some old Hank Williams. I have fun rocking out in my living room with my 2-year-old son, Cash, watching him bang his drumsticks together trying to keep a beat. There's a genuine, sobering smile on my face in knowing that I'm playing because I enjoy to play, not because I'm trying to find fame or fortune. It turns out that the thousands of hours spent over the years writing, recording, producing, and performing weren't all for nothing. In fact, 6 months out of rehab, I found a new passion that would change my life. I started That Sober Guy and Sober Guy Radio in April of 2014. I found a deep fulfillment in diving headfirst into vulnerability by sharing my story on the Sober Guy platform. As it turned out, there were many others out there struggling with the same issues, and the fact that I kept the show's content real and raw with no filters for language or show topics seemed to attract new listeners by the day. I think this stemmed from my roots and love for the punk rock way, the DIY mentality, and the Link 80 against the rest attitude where the truth and independence always prevail. This all stemmed from surrendering, determination to make a difference, and putting my true passion out on the table for all the right reasons. As the Sober Guy community continues to grow, I found a deep love for helping others that I could never have imagined. I genuinely wake up excited every day to see what the day holds in store. This is not to say my life is perfect. It's not, and neither am I. But when I get an email from a guy on the other side of the world telling me how last week's podcast may have saved his life, the positive effects of a message like this are amazing on both ends. This life is about the pursuit of happiness through relationships and self-love, not fame or fortune. Who knows? I may put out an acoustic album again one day, but who knows when the time will be? Maybe I won't. I'll leave that decision and the many others I can't control up to him, the man with the plan upstairs. In closing, I'd like to leave with a quote from the mother of a punk rock icon who, like so many other moms out there, lost her son to a battle with mental health and addiction. It comes from an author many of you have probably heard of. Her name is Danielle Steele, and her son, Nick Traina, was an inspiration to me and many other kids out there trying to find their way in a world full of confusion. This is quoted from the prologue of His Bright Light, the book about her son, Nick Traina. She says, "If I had 3 wishes, one would be that he had never suffered from mental illness. The other would be, of course, that he were still alive today. But the third would be that someone had warned me at some point that his illness, manic depression, could kill him. It was Nick who made it all worthwhile. He did it for us and for himself, and we for him. It was a dance of love from beginning to end. His life was worth living, whatever the handicaps and challenges. I think he'd agree with that, and I have no doubt of it. I have no regrets, no matter how hard it was. I wouldn't have given up 1 second with him, and what happened in the end was his destiny. As his song says, destiny, dance with me, my destiny. And how sweet the music was, and that's one of my favorite songs. Very sad, but a great one. The sound of it will forever live on, just like Nick and our love for him, Danielle Steele." I hope that gives you a little understanding, a little bit about my background and love for music, and also understanding that something I love, which I still love, I didn't really know much about it at the same time, or about myself and why I thought I loved that so much. In other words, the expectations and the reason for doing what I wanted to do, they weren't really in the right place. Definitely passionate about music, but it wasn't in the right place. It wasn't right, and it wasn't my destiny. So it's funny how God shows us things when we don't expect them, and he shows us things through ways that we would least expect it. I never would have thought in a million years, 5 years ago, I'd be, sitting here doing podcasts for a living and talking about recovery. That was not my plan. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't my plan to be in recovery, to be, somebody who struggles with substances. And that's the beauty of it. It's not for me to control. It's not in my capacity as a human being to control that. Man, I got to take a breath. This stuff is cray, son. I need to do some fun shit. I'm supposed to have my homie Sean B on sometime, and we were just going to share a bunch of shitbag wild stories from back in the day. What would you guys think of that? Would you enjoy that? I'm curious. If you would enjoy that, I would ask you a favor. Hit me up on Instagram at RealThatSoberGuy and let me know, hey, I would love to hear some of your shitbag stories. And maybe I'll hook up with Sean Beasy, and him and I can kick back and just share some stories. We don't, it's not something that you're supposed to do, and we would never do that all the time. But I think it is. There's some funny ass stories from back in the day, and probably half of them that I don't remember until I get talking about them with some of the other homies. So maybe we'll do that. Let us know what you think, if you would like to hear that, if that's something that you'd be interested in, and we'll see about setting that up. I hope that your week, your day, your month, your moment, your hour, your minute, your second, your right now is absolutely amazing. And let me tell you why it should be, because you're fucking alive. And I believe that was number 2. Got away with only 2 F-bombs today. That's amazing. I beat you, Seth. You had 5. I had 2. Unless I miscounted. I may have had 3. I think it was only 2. But, yeah, show us some love. Check us out at thatsoberguy.com. Get your tickets to the live show coming up September 7th, the Phoenix Theater, Petaluma, California. Who's pumped? Who's pumped? A broken record. Oh, yeah. I'm going to play some guitar. Hope you all have a good one. Peace, love, respect. Keep your blood clean.